D. McClung, Hardcore Monologues. That's where I talk, and you don't. All right, this is a new year, 2022. I'm still alive. Surprise, surprise. All right, we're going to start a new series today, and for the year, whole year, and I'm going to list some of the topics that I'll be talking about through the year. And it's going to be, the episodes are going to be episode 1, episode 2, etc. But we'll put 2022 after it just to distinguish it from last year, which is also 1, 2, 3. And last year I went with 1, 2, 1A, 2B, 3C, whatever. So this year we'll just go with E1, E2, and we'll just put like a dash and 2022, so we'll know what episodes are what. And of course we might give it a title, so you'll know what the topic is of that particular episode. So let's go through the list, but we're going to give that list, or we're going to give this series the title of Manifester, Demanifesto. Oops. Tongue twister. Manifester, Demanifestations. Now, I could look this up in the dictionary, or you could. But, okay, to save time, I'm going to look it up for you. Hold on. All right. A manifestation is the act of materializing or to make something readily perceived by the eye or the understanding. To make evident, obvious, apparent, or plain. All right, we got that far? To make clear or evident to the eye or the understanding, and to show plainly. So, a manifestation. All right? And a manifester would be a person who does that. So that's why it's called manifester of manifestations. All right, so that would be the title of the series. So let's go right into it and list some of the topics. Hold on. All right, let me get my top of my list here. All right, here we go. This is a phrase: be and do. And I'll explain what that means. Minimalism, surrealism, expressionism. Those are the three categories or styles of art that I produce. I work in surrealism, expressionism, minimalism, the three main styles that I use when I'm, say, painting a picture in oils or acrylic, or producing a sculpture piece. All right, I will elaborate on that. Third one, the human condition. Now, I've always been fascinated by the human condition, and I think it's fairly clear what that means. The human condition is basically everything that has anything to do with humanity. As a group, as a whole species, not species, because there's no SH in there. All right, and or as an individual or small group of individuals, like the human condition involving one person. Now, when I do stories, fiction, when I write a story, it takes on the form of an observation of the human condition, specifically the characters in the story. Perhaps one person or two or a group of people that make up the characters of that story. So the situations that people get into and find themselves in, for example, the present human condition is pretty much being call it overwhelmed with this so-called pandemic. You know what I'm talking about. COVID-19, yeah, it's everywhere. So that's a part of the human condition today, and has been for a couple of years, and will probably be a subject of discussion and concern and torture for human beings for a while. All right, and I'll get into that COVID-19 situation as well as an episode. And maybe several episodes. There's a lot to talk about there, and a lot of bullshit going around, particularly on certain social media outlets. It's a lot of bullshit, a lot of lies, a lot of misunderstandings, misinformation, disinformation, as my friend Dave Champion would say. And so we'll get into that. It should be like a top priority, but let's face it, here I am in my studio right now, alive, fairly well, fairly good condition, any major complaints, and I'm getting old. And by golly, I'm still doing what I want to do and what I like to do, what gives me pleasure and joy, like doing this podcast, painting a picture, or a painting. Doesn't have to be a picture. You know, making music, writing a song, writing a poem, writing a science fiction, social fiction, political fiction, and nonfiction. Anyway, we'll move on to that as we go along. All right. Here's a premise that I go by. Now, a lot of people, they'll say, oh, that's just your opinion. And, no, it's not. I rarely express my opinions. That's not to say I don't, but sometimes I do. Sometimes. Most of the time, I think, in my judgment, is that I don't express my opinions on certain issues because the expression itself concerns my observations in a certain situation or a certain human condition, and so on. So that's called calculated logical conclusions, or CLC. I come up with that little descriptor to kind of simplify things and make it clear that that's what it is I am doing. You're just expressing an opinion, and no, it's actually a calculated logical conclusion based on, number 5 on the list here, a critical analytic observation. That would be CAO, excuse me, CAO, critical analytic observation. Now, what is that? That is where I observe, shall we say, the human condition, and specifically some part of the human condition, some particular individuals or situation or circumstance, like the present political situation, or the COVID situation, or so forth. Human behavior, and sometimes I just observe what people say. Yeah, you can observe somebody's writings or posts on social media, for example, and you can observe it and analyze it and you can analyze it critically. And when I say critical analytic observations, I mean critical thinking is involved. So, okay, so we get into that. The voice of reason. I'm not the only one. I'm not a narcissist. Well, actually, a little bit, but not in a bad way. Not an obsessed kind of vain, exclusive of all other humans kind of thing. Just personal. Um, Self-preservation kind of narcissism. Um, and I'm a shameless self-promoter, so that's that. But it's not to the detriment of other humans, is what I'm saying. Okay, moving on. All right. The voice of reason, as I said, was I kind of consider myself the voice of reason. Now, not the voice of reason, but a voice of reason. There are lots of people in the world who are reasonable. And I mean reason able, meaning they're able to reason logically, rationally, sanely, and with some critical thinking processes going on in their heads to allow them to express some observations and conclusions that actually are sane, rational, logical, intelligent, and factual. All right, I'm just one of the voices of reason. A lot of people on the internet, like on these social media places, they are not being reason able because they're probably not reason able, if you get my meaning. All right, let's go to another one. 9 gates, or is it 10 gates? Now that's I guess that's sort of a spiritual concept. It has to do with the gates to your third eye, your inner consciousness and your inner awareness. I get into that a little bit as well. I say 9 gates because that's sort of like the official number, but I think maybe 10 because I think the human skin, it could be considered a gateway to the inner person. I mean, if you touch a person's skin, not necessarily one of the 9 actual gates, but if you touch them with your hand, like on the arm or the shoulder, or shake their hand, for example. The vibrations of a person touching another person's skin, the skin absorbs that vibration, and I guess you could say this is sort of a spiritual concept, and I'm not much into that spiritualism type thing, but in this case, I will allow it. So the skin absorbs something from the other person. And look at it this way. If you're having sex with a person, let's say a man and a woman, it doesn't have to be. It depends on your sexual orientation. But you can sense the other person in a very, very sensitive, very sensual, very, in some cases, overwhelming, and a very powerful feeling of the presence of that person. You could feel them and feel their energy and their consciousness as you're making love. And I would think in an ideal situation that both of you are actually paying attention to each other while you're doing this, instead of just the guy going, humpity, 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 and the girl's just laying there saying, oh, well, whatever. I'm saying if you're actually in an emotional, say, romantic kind of intercourse. And it doesn't have to be intercourse. It could just be touching, cuddling, kissing, hugging, whatever. All right, moving on. Here's an important one. Words mean what they mean. Yeah, they do. Now, I get people all the time, they tell me, the language evolves. And I didn't say language, did I? I said words. And I'm a word man. Big on words. Words are important. I use words all the time. Sometimes I use images, like photographs or a painting or a drawing or something of that nature. But mostly, at least these days, I use words. I write words. I speak words, record words. I sing words. And words are important. And they also do not evolve. They mean what they mean. If you take a word that was created at some point in time, say, for example, we take a word like, trying to think of a good one. All right, I don't want to use that word yet. All right, child. The word child comes from something previous, like Latin or whatever. Now, I don't know. I didn't look it up before I said that, so forgive me. But let's take another one. Adolescence. An adolescent, it's a word that came around, I think it was about the 1400s, and it didn't really mean a whole lot. It just simply means growing up. So if you hit puberty at around the age of 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, that's when adulthood kicks in. You start evolving and developing into that next stage of human existence, the stages of human development. Fetus, infant, child, puberty, adulthood. So adolescence is like, not really a legitimate phase. In America today, I don't know other countries too probably, but in America, the word adolescence has got to be thrown in there to mean, not really a grown up at all. Just still a child. You're an adolescent child. And that's just bullshit. But anyway, we'll get into that as well. All right. But you understand what I'm saying? That word means what it means. Child means the child, an offspring. It means that stage of human development before puberty and before adulthood and the growing up into an adult. By the way, adolescence, if you look at the word, this is not official, but adolescent or adult less complete adulthood. Growing into. Puberty is the transition from child to adulthood. Pubescence is not the transition between childhood and adolescence. No. Anyway, we'll get into that deeper, more in depth and detail. All right, the next one. Oh, by the way, if you use words wrong, then you probably should study up and maybe not say anything until you know what the word means. I mean, if you're using words incorrectly, you probably shouldn't. Free speech, free speech. Yeah, well, you have a right to your opinion, but you don't necessarily have a right to express it in my face. All right, so anyway, particularly if you're wrong. All right, individualism. Whatever happened to individualism, by the way? When I was in high school and so on, in college, in grade school, they were very big on that individual thing. Individual. We're all individuals. We're all one of a kind, unique individuals. Well, I guess people forgot that word because I haven't heard anyone express it for a long time. Well, guess what? I'm going to. And I'm going to throw that word out there a lot in the coming year because individualism is the thing, and we need to get back to that concept instead of this collectivism and to reach on the outside globalism and all that inclusiveness and so on. Now, I'm not against inclusiveness in a sense, but the way it's being thrown around today, it's really not appropriate, and we'll get into that as well. but I'm an individual. You're an individual, and I respect you as an individual, or I don't, depending on your behaviors and so on. If you're not respectable, you're not getting my respect. If you have ideas that are disgusting and wrong and harmful and stupid, then no, I'm not giving you respect. I had a teacher in high school that she said, my name is Miss Brown, and you will respect me because I'm the teacher and I'm older than you and shit. And I'm in a position of authority, and you will respect me. You'll call me yes, sir, yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am, and stuff like that. And she was really a bitch about it. And the first time she said that, and she did say it often, I said to myself, and I should have said it out loud, I'd have got in trouble, but damn it, I should have said it out loud and said, no, respect is earned. And if you don't earn it, you're not getting it. You don't get respect just because you're the teacher. You haven't even shown us that you are capable of being a teacher yet. You haven't shown us that you have a respectable outlook on educating us kids. Should have said that. Should have said it, but I didn't. I just said it in my head. And that's the same. I'm talking about 50, 60, 55 years. I still believe that. If you're not respectable, you're not getting it. Sorry. It's the way it is. All right. It looks like I won't get through the whole list of 69 or 79, 69 plus. All right, next. Body integrity, autonomy. Well, you should know what that means. That means your body belongs to you, nobody else, not anyone else at all. Now, we know when you're a baby or an infant and your mother has to take care of you and your father kind of hopefully pitches in and does something too to help, keep you safe and help you get nourishment and that you're healthy and that you produce and that you can grow and mature and become eventually an adult that's responsible and educated and knowledgeable and have a purpose and be an individual. All right, individualism and body integrity. Oh, by the way, if you have a body, you do, If you don't have a body, you're not listening to me and you're dead. All right? Or you're a ghost and, we know about ghosts, right? They don't exist. All right, so, yeah, really, not even if you're Jesus. All right? Sorry to burst your bubble, but no such thing. All right. Where was I? Oh, and if you're a woman and you get pregnant, what's in your body is still you. And I don't want to get into the abortion thing yet. I will. It's on the list. But the truth of the matter is, we need to respect a woman's body. And this holds true for any situation. You can't just go around raping women. It's just not right. It's wrong. You know it's wrong. Don't do it. I know people do it. It's all the time. Everybody's doing it. But it's still wrong because it's a crime. And it's not a crime because the law says so. It's a crime because, it just is. All right. Okay, moving on. I don't want to get into that abortion thing right here, but I will. Again, as I often do. At any rate, if you don't believe in abortion, don't have one. Otherwise, shut the fuck up, leave people alone, mind your own business. All right? And if you want the government to make it illegal, fuck you. You're an animal. You're just a monster of an ignorant, stupid person. All right, moving on. All right, I'm going to come up here. I'm running out of time at this segment. Body integrity. All right. The right of freedom of speech, free expression. Freedom of expression, free speech. Well, we know what that means, doesn't it? That means we can say whatever we want. And I don't get to get into that too much right here, right now, but I'm big on that because that's my job. I express myself and my thoughts in various ways. I paint, I draw, I make photographs, digital photography, and so on. Diddle? Yeah, diddle. All right, and I used to diddle, and maybe I still diddle, and yeah, I still diddle. So anyway, that's an expression. Maybe I want to express my affection towards you, sweetheart. Yeah, well, and she says, sure, okay, let's do it. Anyway, that's another story, isn't it? So anyway, I believe very highly in that free speech thing, and I'm not a hypocrite about it. Censorship is wrong, absolutely fucking wrong, no matter what. And I could get into the things about corporations don't have rights, so therefore they cannot claim that they have the right to, whatever. Because no, you don't. You're a corporation, you're entitled, you're granted the privilege of engaging in a privileged activity, like a business. It's not a right. And you're taxable, because that's the income tax applies to you, not to us, individuals who are not corporations. All right, we'll get into that too. All right, the human form, substance of being. Well, the human form is interesting. Some human beings are beautiful, and that might be an opinion. Some human beings might not be so beautiful. Some are fat and thin and skinny and tall, young and old, wrinkled and smooth. I appreciate the substance of a thing. I'm not calling humans things. That's another category here. But I appreciate things. And I look at women. I'm kind of going back and forth here. I look at women as living, breathing sculptures, works of art. That's the way I look at it. Now, you can say this is my opinion, but I'm an artist and I have that opinion or that philosophy or that premise is a basic part of what I do as an artist. I appreciate the human form in sculpture and in two-dimensional or one-dimensional forms like a painting or drawing a photograph. By the way, photographs are not people. A picture of a tree is not a tree. If you don't understand that concept, there's something not clicking in your head. All right, let's see what else we got here. Truth and reason, probably self-evident there. Get into that a bit. I have a church called Truth and Reason Atheist Humanist. I am an ordained humanist clergy person. I can marry people in in marriage, wedding ceremonies. It's not a marriage. That's not nothing to do with your marriage. That's between the people that are married, which, by the way, has to do with individuals and social and individual relationships and personal contracts, etc., etc. But get into that some more again, as I have in the past. I explained that a little bit, and but I have that church. All right, the nature of marriage. Like I said, I'll get into that in some detail. Common law marriage, which of course is the only real marriage. Sorry about that. That's true. State marriage is a joke. It's a farce. It's a program. Programs, like food stamps, Social Security, join it or don't join it. The government has no say in your marriage. Seriously. All right. I'm going to wrap this up on this section, and I'll do another segment later and give you some more on the list for the year 2022. All right. Let me see if there's anything else I want to bring in there. Oh, yeah. iDemon Studios. This podcast is brought to you by iDemon Studios. That's my studio where art is made. And McClung Originals. And that's also a part of the studio, which means, I make original artworks and sometimes some crafty work. I like to tinker with things and, make some letter openers and back scratchers, and it's just for fun. Just call it a hobby on the side because you can't be serious all the time. All right, and TAPEFA, TAPEFA, the Antigone Project Exercising Freedom Advocacy. And that is an organization that I founded and am the, shall we call it, what is it? I'm the number one guy. I'm not the CEO because I'm not a corporation. I'm the director of TAPEFA, or TAP, TAP for short, which means, I advocate for freedom. And I advocate exercising your freedom as you damn well please, because that's the way a free society works. And America's not one of those, by the way. So we need to work on that, get that fixed. All right, I'm going to stop here at 17 and or 18. Actually, I mentioned one. I'm going to stop here, and we'll continue this little list in the next episode, episode 2 of 2022. And for now, I'm going to say good night, goodbye, until next time. And please, please, please share this with your friends and family and so on. No, we don't. You don't need me. I need you. And I need you to spread this around and just give me some attention. Get me some attention. I've got some things to say, and I think it's good for people. I think it'll be beneficial to humanity. Yeah, narcissist in there, but still, just give it a shot. All right, so I'll talk to you next time, and be well.